Welcome to those of you who are joining. We are just getting underway, obviously. And we'll wait just a few minutes for more people to join. While you're joining, if you want to just enter into the chat, maybe your organization, and one thing you're excited about spring, or well, depending on where you are. I hear that it's like 90 degrees in like some areas in the DC area. So something you're excited about in as we come into May. Hello, everybody. We are just waiting for a few other people to get underway. Um, if you could, we're just doing a quick icebreaker. If you could put your name and organization in the chat, along with one thing you're excited about as we come into official spring. Possibly that it not being 90 degrees if you live in the Washington, D.C. area. I live in Maine, so I'd be very excited for it to be 90 degrees, at least for a few days. But yeah, then we get old. Yeah. Um, Ken from Scale Justice mentions that he is excited for warmer temperatures, just not hot temperatures like in New Jersey right now. Yes, Laura with the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, excited for porch hangouts. Fantastic. Michelle is excited for lots of pool time. Fantastic. Boy, it's been a long time since I've been to a pool, but yeah, that's my loss. Melissa, yeah, crazy weather in Kansas this spring. Oh no, tornado and hail. All right. Um, so let me just talk a little bit about what we're going to do today, which is a little different than some of what we have been doing. We're going to be doing some breakouts into small groups to let folks really learn from the other very smart people who are participating in this call. So we're going to do some small group discussions. So how this is going to work is I'm going to give you a kind of a chat prompt, or sorry, a prompt to talk about in your breakout. Then we're going to break you out into groups of about three. And we'll do about 10-minute breakouts for you each to introduce yourself and to take on the topic at hand. So our first one is it's an easy, it's a softball to start with. What's something content related that you're working on that others might be interested in? And so really the idea, especially with that first one, is just to meet some other people and find out what they are working on. And we will dive into a little more in-depth questions after that. So you may, as people show up late, it's possible that you'll get people joining your group late, but we're going to try to put them in their own group so they don't. Here is the prompt. Any questions before we put you into groups of three, four, or two to three, based on who we have with us on the phone? Questions before we dive into the chat, or raise your hand? Hello, as people come back into the main room. Thank you so much for meeting each other, sharing thoughts. And I'd be really interested to hear if there were any Any themes? Anything that came up that you felt that multiple people were working on that was interesting, or something interesting that a colleague of yours was working on that you want to share?
I got some really great uh, tips from Chanita about getting the attorneys involved in content. Uh,
Hmm.
we have we don't we haven't had a very intense attorney involvement in what we put on the site and what we write. So we've got a group together and we're working on it. But Chanita told me about this. A great thing they do. They have content review parties where they get
Ah,
all these attorneys together, and it's like a 3 hour pizza party, and they give prizes for those who review content and give input. It sounds fantastic.
absolutely. We had a deep dive into the pizza party a few sessions ago.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we should potentially, it wasn't literally about the pizza party. And
Yeah.
maybe we should do one specifically on the pizza party. So fantastic. Other people pick up good tips or things to share?
Hi, this is Ken from Scale Justice, and Michelle shared that one of their processes for updating content is to tie the sort of annual review to the legislative session, so that it's top of mind and on everybody's plate at that moment.
Absolutely. So busy right now, presumably.
So yeah,
Uh,
Texas law, I hope we do that too. Our cycle is every other year, but the biggest thing we're doing right now is just implementing Project Lacey Legal Aid Content Intelligence, which a lot of y'all know about, was created by Lone Star Legal Aid. So now we've got a team of volunteers, law students, helping us annotate some like 2,000 pieces of content so that we'll get notified when things change, which will make that odd numbered year cycle a little bit easier to manage.
yes,
And I
absolutely.
like the pizza party idea. I should borrow that.
Absolutely. Other things to share before I give you your next mission if you choose to accept it with your group breakouts? Hello, everybody back. And so Shelley and I were just having a conversation about conceivably using AI to do a particular step in a process, which yeah, is challenging potentially. Fantastic. So I'm really interested, having talked through potentially now, so each of you two different problems, and between us, five or six. Um, what you might have taken from those conversations? Are there things that you've picked up, things that are interesting that you would share back to a larger group?
Well, even if we're coming at things from a different approach, whether the communication side or the legal content creation and management side, there's a lot of, we're all struggling with the same things, mostly capacity and the challenges that AI has on what we do.
Hmm, interesting. Um, I'd
I
love to
mean,
hear what people have to say. Were there thoughts on, let's talk about capacity first. Were there thoughts on things to help with capacity?
How, what's the context of capacity? I mean, are you talking about how much you can have on your website, or
the staff to maintain it
okay,
more than anything else.
okay.
And so, like, I'm struggling in particular with just how to bring volunteers on because we just don't have much of a staff to assist in a slightly lower friction way,
Hmm.
given our IT resilience.
We've got a lot of new employees that want to contribute to the website. So we're trying just kind of to wrangle the people that want to do it and not, and keep the integrity and the quality intact. So
That's
I don't
great
know.
that you have people who want to. I mean,
Yeah,
we do and we don't. Everyone within our organization who wants to help also is juggling another million projects.
Yeah.
So even if they'd like to, they don't necessarily have the bandwidth either.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to our so we had a session a little while back, which yeah, we might actually I'm gonna talk I'm gonna ask you in just a few minutes about topics to have upcoming. And it certainly I think is worth revisiting some of these core topics. We had a topic about um kind of processes to maintain and to ensure the that articles and other things were updated over time. Some of the things, so that was the one in which Janita's Pizza Party was a big hit, and we got a lot of detail on that. Also, simply the idea of um, making sure it was clear to the organization that although creating new stuff was more fun and interesting, that probably at least as much time needs to be spent on updating the old stuff. Was another thing that came up. Um, yeah. Let's talk about AI a little bit. Were there things specifically that came up? So kind of the challenge of trying to do useful things with AI, that without, you know, doing non-useful things with AI. Did anybody have here kind of interesting suggestions for that?
Well, I was intrigued to hear a little bit about some of the organizations that are using chatbots to help direct people on the navigation to get to the resources that they need. That is not something that we currently do at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, but I thought it was interesting to hear from a few that do.
Fantastic. Who is here that is doing that? Just, oh, I guess Leo is, yeah. Great. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, that sounds like a topic that would be really interesting.
I was
Yeah,
just thinking as we are discussing this that use AI's capability of summarizing to, like, if people are using Word documents to manage their content, for example, you could load them all up into Notebook LM or one of the generative AI programs, and have it produce an Excel spreadsheet of the main topic of the thing, or what statute is covered in the article. And then when that statute is updated, it's a very easy, quick find to find which articles need to be updated. I mean, that might be helpful.
Yeah, and potentially to connect it to Lacey. So Lacey is all about updating for statutes. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Other things, sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was gonna just say for us, I mainly use it as a word editor. Like I will write content, have it help me make it more plain language. What am I missing? Gaps, that sort of thing. We have the ability on the site to have it, and we've chosen not to have it automatically be live on the site without a human reading it first. And we have had issues with like reliability with, we have Jira tasks that we give our developers, for instance, and we will say, hey, summarize these 10, and it'll summarize 5. And we'll say, go back and do the other 5. And it says, I have. And you're like, no, you haven't. And so we have to, it still's not exactly where we want it to be as far as, keeping track of our tasks. But, and then we have Askaleo on the site, which I'm not a fan of. I think even though it has guardrails to just pull our content, it still is not exactly correct. So I mainly use it as a word editor, but I also am cognizant that we are very much heading in this direction and we have to get on board with it. Our group also talked about how it's affecting our site numbers, the like page
Mhm.
views, and users on our site. And then the best way to kind of optimize, or what suggestions there might be to optimize like the GEO, the generative engine optimization, where the summary pulls from us. But that's an ongoing challenge. And the recommendations we've gotten have been odd. So we're in negotiations. So
Oh, interesting. Oh, there's I'll put it in the chat for anybody who is, this might only be you, Chinita. Um, just published a gigantic guide to GEO. I will, it's pretty plain language, but it's just incredibly long. So
I'd
I
love
was
to
just
see
reading the
that.
too long didn't read, and it's like 20 pages itself. So I'll find that while we're doing the next thing. In our last 7 minutes here, I would love to hear what topics might be of interest to you in future discussions. Either certainly, I'm happy to, we can certainly have kind of to take on again the topics that we talked about before and find out what's new. We can talk about new things. I know that some of you are new to the group, and so no need to know what we've talked about in the past. Um, think for a couple minutes, 2 minutes, and type just things into the chat. Brainstorm some things that would be interesting to learn from your peers. In the meantime, I'm going to find this resource. Going to be very sad if nobody enters anything. Mm, fantastic. Thank you. Feel free to thumbs up other people's things if they are looking interesting to you. Future potential topics you'd like to hear from your peers about into the chat. Great. Okay, right. Finish typing if you are typing. Ooh, sample protocols. Elena, what do you mean by protocols? I'm not familiar with that term.
Hi, I'm Ilana. I just mean
A lot.
it sounded like people had uh processes documented for how their staff work together to create these materials and things like that. And we don't really have a great structure, so I'd love to hear that or
Great.
see samples of that.
All right. Any last thoughts before we AI translation? Yes, we actually that was on my list. We had a bit of a conversation about that, but never came back around to it. Fantastic. Any last thoughts before we wrap up? Thank you for your time. As always, such a great group and willing to share stuff. I will hopefully see you again next month. The third Thursday of the month, I believe, is our day. And yeah, hope to see you then. Talk to you. Hello.